History seems to be kind of repeating itself when it comes to a potential mistake that I think national media types are making when it comes to the Texans. Landry Locker, John Lopez, Figgy Fig with you. So the Las Vegas win-loss odds, win-loss totals came out yesterday, and it has the Texans at 5.5, which is tied for the fewest amount of wins. And immediately, as soon as those odds came out, you have people talking about the trade, and the Texans made this trade. And if Will Anderson doesn't do this, then it's a bad trade. I think the national media types are kind of looking at this trade the wrong way. I think it's a package deal. I think it's more so about C.J. Stroud. It's more so about the quarterback. And furthermore, J-Lo, Figgy, I think that if we've learned anything around here, and if we've learned anything around the NFL, assuming what a draft pick is going to be, it bites you in the butt more times than not. 2017, when the Texans traded their first to get Deshaun Watson, that ended up being the number 4 overall pick. Last year, we thought that the Denver pick was good. It was near the top 5. The Rams draft pick with the Lions, they were coming off a Super Bowl and ended up being top 6. So when these assumptions are made as to where a team's going to finish, I think it's a dangerous thing, but I will say that the Texans do need to finish outside of the top 6 to avoid really substantive criticism, but it's more about Stroud than it is Will Anderson.
The funny thing about, first of all, the trade is what do you want? I know I said this, the day after the draft. What exactly do you want? Do you want a franchise quarterback that the Texans are all in on and want to make the face of the franchise and carry this team for 10 years? The answer is absolutely yes. For every team wants that. Well, if it doesn't hurt, it wasn't a good trade. It's going to have to hurt. It's going to have to hurt both sides. Plus, we don't know what everything is going to play out to be on that. And then there's the over-under. I mean, I know you're going to give me a hard time on this because you think I've been gambling a lot.
You have.
I placed a wager. Thank you, Sean. I placed a wager yesterday over 5.5. The line didn't move at all. Most of these lines, these win total lines, have been moving in the last, in the weeks leading up to the draft and certainly after the draft. The Texans is 5.5 before the draft, 5.5 today. That is just silly. Texans, still are the Texans, and they're still not going to be any better than they were in the past, and nothing has changed and all that. And I just disagree. Obviously, I could be wrong, but I just disagree. If you got the quarterback that everybody's in on, you got at minimum an impactful rush in that's going to bolster your defense for a new coach. I mean, things are going to be looking better, and according to the perception, it's not.
Lower expectations could actually equal more pressure when it comes to the Texans. Usually when you're predicted to have less wins, there's lower expectations. But with the Texans, I actually think it kind of increases the expectations with the Texans because now you want to avoid, because you made the decision. Like the Texans made a concerted decision, a concerted effort to not wait on a quarterback. That's what they decided. They decided we're not going to wait on the new guys. We're not going to hold off. And because of that, if you do finish with one of the worst records in the NFL, people are going to be asking, what did you wait for? What exactly did you wait for? Especially if maybe one of the quarterbacks that you could get, Drake May or Caleb Williams, some people would think is better than C.J. Stroud, at least on paper. We don't know what he's going to look like. Then you factor in what you could have done with the extra draft equity. The lower expectations with the Texans, it actually means more pressure because they don't have their draft pick. Now, the good thing about not having the draft pick, though, from the Texans' point of view, is I can't imagine that Air and Nick Caserio enjoyed knowing that losing was in their best interest. And quite frankly, they didn't handle it very well. So the Texans aren't ever going to be in a position now that they don't have their own draft pick, where it's going to be in their best interest to lose. The main goal from week 1 to week 18 is going to be to win more games. That's what the Texans are going to do. That's going to be the ideal thing. But if they did finish at, 3-4 wins and they had the number 2 pick, I know Mina Kimes was talking about it, and I've seen other people talk about it, and we'll hear some of them throughout the show. it's not, you don't connect it to Will Anderson, you connect it to CJ Stroud.
You do.
That trade was about the quarterback. That trade was a package deal. D'Amico Ryans basically said so himself, that when asked about the moves, he said, we got these guys. And you drafted CJ Stroud first because you knew you could lower the value and go get Will Anderson. So I don't, the quarterback naturally has more pressure. It's not about Will Anderson. It's about CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. So this notion that they traded all these picks in order to get an edge rusher and avoid getting a quarterback, you're completely ignoring the fact that they got a quarterback as part of that package deal that we acknowledge is a package deal. So they're looking at it the wrong place. CJ Stroud's connected to the quarterbacks that were drafted this year. And if the Texans don't finish with a good record and they have a chance to get one of these quarterbacks, he'll be connected to those guys. But if they win, and let's say the pick is outside the top 10, we won't be saying a damn thing about it. So that's why actually increase the pressure that the Texans need to win some games this year.
If they're outside the top 10, we'll be talking about how good a trade it was because that clearly, I mean, the number 7 pick this year had 7 wins. So I think that's what we were saying. And as far as like the pick of their own that they traded, no one is going to be saying, well, the Texans won 3 or 4 games, to use your example, because of Will Anderson. It's going to be because C.J. Stroud wasn't what we thought he was going to be. So that's what you're talking about. No one's going to be saying, oh, boy, Will Anderson didn't carry this team. Well, no, it's going to be about the quarterback, even though Will Anderson is such a big part of it.